show is about the fans, for the fans.
As a youngster and as you get older, if you have the base and the fundamentals.
How's it guys? Down to Tatham here. I'm just finished up training now with
the upper back probably at the age of 3 and we're passing a rugby ball. About 12 seasons of Premier Club cricket.
It's been a fantastic season so far for us as the Dolphins. A really good season so far. We've got good momentum in this one-day competition.
Really performing well, bowlers, batters and fielders.
Training camp is really good. Guys are really focused. It's been a fantastic season so far.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Leading Edge with me, your host, Nick Tatham. Thank you so much for joining us as the cold front rolls into town in the next couple of days. Hopefully you can enjoy a nice warm evening, a nice glass of red wine or maybe a beer as we chat to two more guests. This evening, I've got two keepers with me, one new, one not so new, one retired a number of years ago, and the other one is still a member of the Hollywood Bets Dolphin squad. So I'm going to introduce you to our first guest this evening, the man who has played many years for Natal, as it was known then, Errol Stewart. Errol, thank you so much for joining me on this evening's show, and welcome.
Thank you, Nick. Great to be here. It's a real pleasure to be on your show.
How's everything going, Errol? I know that we were chatting off air, and work seems to be going all right.
Very well, thank you. Yeah, we've adjusted well to lockdown. I work at Standard Bank, and no chance of going back to the office anytime soon. But I must say, the resources and the efficiencies and effectiveness of working from home have been fantastic. So I've embraced it and loving. I think the social interactions are one thing I do miss, but sure we can take care of that at some stage.
As I said, one a little bit older, one new. Our second guest joining us, Mangaliso Mosehle, the Hollywood Bets Dolphins wicketkeeper. Mangi already kitted and ready to go.
Definitely, it's a keeper's union. So I thought I'd put out something a little bit different today. The old floppy and old gloves. So yeah, I'm excited to be on the show. So thank you for having me as a guest.
Nick disappears for a moment. Errol, I'm going to bounce it straight to you. Give me your
perspective. So, Mungs, I was just wondering whether you were getting ready for the Durban winter there with your keeping gloves on. But then I remember you're a man from up on the Highveld, so this is absolutely beautiful for you.
Yeah, definitely. Like as I said, there's no winter in Durban. I'm walking around with like shorts and a couple of long sleeves. So yeah, I'm enjoying the summer and winter in Durban.
Errol, we're gonna jump straight into it. I know that you spent many years playing.
And Nick disappears into the darkness of the Hillcrest Data Tunnel. But the question he was going to ask you, we talked about the Wicketkeepers Union. Errol, how connected are you still with South African cricket? I mean, I know you're so invested in it, and you're so invested in the way the game is being played here in Durban and with the Hollywood Bets Dolphins. How strong is that connection at the moment?
Look, with the Hollywood Bets Dolphins, very strong, I must say. Dave, I've always had a huge interest in it. I retired 16 years ago now. It seems like a lifetime ago that I played, but I'm still very involved with the Dolphins. I attend most of the matches if I can. But in terms of cricket, South Africa, my stint as a national selector ended nearly a year ago, end of July 2019, at the end of the World Cup in England. So I haven't really been that involved with cricket South Africa since those days. But like I said, I take a very keen interest in the Hollywood Bets Dolphins. They're a franchise that I'm very close to. Obviously, it was formed a massive part of my life over the years. And I love to see how they're evolving and developing. It's great to see how they're them winning a trophy in the past season. They deserved it. They worked hard, and a great bunch of guys.
They did deserve it. And Mungi's sitting there listening quietly. Ex-players, Mungi, you're at a stage in your career where you maybe see yourself as an ex-player one day. You've suddenly stopped playing, and you have this opportunity to put back. Errol's in exactly that place. Errol, you have actually a responsibility to seriously put back into the province and the game that you love.
Yeah, without doubt, Nick, Dave. It's massively important. I think there's no ways that you should just walk away from the game. I really believe that you need to leave something behind, and I certainly feel that there's value that I can add in whatever small or big form that may be. And I think a lot of the ex-players feel exactly the same way. And what I really enjoy about the Hollywood Bets Dolphins, and certainly the exec that manage the franchise, is that they're very keen to involve ex-players as and when they can, not just for the sake of it, but certainly if they see a need, they bring in the expertise as and when required. And I think that's fantastic. So long may it last. It's great to see them success on the field.
Yeah, we'll carry on chatting about that. Mangi, how important is it to get guys coming back in and giving back to the Dolphins, giving back to franchises? I know that you've been with the Lions and with the Titans too. Is it something that happens across the board?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's very important, and I've been in a fortunate position to chat with a lot of the guys that I used to look up to when I was young, and I think uh, all the older guys coming back into the change room like makes a massive difference. You know, like what it takes to be a Dolphin, what it takes to play for KZN. You know, so I've always been a firm believer in keeping the culture and actually like understanding like where all these older players come from, and like them coming back and giving back into the system or whatever the case may be. I've always been like a firm believer in that, and yeah, and yeah, like I said, I've been in a fortunate position, I mean, to chat to James Foster as a wicketkeeper, to Nick Pothers, to Ray Jennings, and all those guys, and those guys have made like a significant difference in my keeping career, or my career in general. And it's always good to learn from those older guys, you know. So I've really enjoyed that.
Let's now look at you. You're one of the most experienced keepers on the scene at the moment. I think it's fair to say, in terms of games played. Are you sort of nurturing the next crop of Dolphins talent? I know that Grant Olofsson's obviously right up there in terms of keepers. Are you working hard with him and trying to pass on as much knowledge as you can?
Yeah, I mean, like interesting. Like I had a meeting with the coach yesterday, and obviously when I came to Durban, I was like, yeah, I need to like make it work and or revive my career in a way. And the first thing that I got from him was like, I mean, help Grant to be a better keeper. And me and Grant have been working together. We chat quite often, and I've loved every single moment of like learning from him, and me obviously giving the knowledge and the experience that I've had to him. I think, well, I believe we do have like a fantastic relationship, and I've loved coaching keeping. I've enjoyed like you know, when it comes to keepers, like I want to get involved. You know, like I want to share my experience, to share my knowledge. You know, so I've also been working on a couple of things that I'm writing and putting together to share with a lot of coaches or a lot of players, whatever the case may be. Yeah, I mean, I've really enjoyed being in Durban, actually, to be quite honest.
Errol, let's take it right back to the start.
Mhm.
What made you decide to become a keeper? What was the factors that sort of made your decision easier?
I think it started when I was about 10 years old, Nick. You know how it is. You turn up at a practice when you're 10 or 11 years old, I suppose, and somebody says, who wants to keep? You put your hand up, and that kind of seals the deal. I've always wanted to be involved, and I felt that keeping is one area of the game. If you're not going to bowl, I've never been a bowler, that you can be involved the whole time. And I think that was one of the main reasons why I became a keeper. I'd like to think I've got a lot of energy, and you obviously have a huge role, and Mangi will agree with me, is that the keeper dictates the attitude on the field, the energy levels on the field as well. It's got to keep lots of momentum going. You've got a whole bunch of jobs going your way, over rates, and whether you're behind the 8 ball in terms of speed of play and so on. And I've just enjoyed the involvement. The keeper is always an integral part of the game, and as I said, I think that's the major reason why I became a keeper, and I've loved it. It's been fantastic, and certainly has given me a great deal of pleasure.
Well, you say that you always want to be in the game. I know that you're a dual sportsman. Rugby was your other game.
Yeah.
Did that move into your rugby career as well? Always wanting to be involved?
Yeah, very much so. Obviously, completely different sports, rugby and cricket, no doubt. And I enjoyed the different seasons that we played, and the hard, tough contact sport of rugby, 90 minutes of play, etc. And then, of course, the endurance of cricket that it brought to the party. But yeah, so I think they test different elements of your mental stability and your mental strength. And as we know, sport is all about what happens between your ears. We've all seen many players out there with unbelievable talent, but they don't have it when it comes to the mental toughness, and I think that's a true test of any sportsman. But yeah, rugby for me was a real opportunity to express yourself physically, and brought some completely different dimension to sports as opposed to what I enjoyed with cricket.
Are you, a trivia question,
Yeah.
from a South African perspective, were you the last dual rugby cricketer professional?
Yeah, I think so. There was another guy, some of you will remember, by the name of Dan van Zyl. Dan played scrum half for Northerns and ended up playing scrum half for South Africa. And he was a right-arm off-spin all-rounder who played for the Titans. So I think he and I were the last two who were able to play both cricket and rugby at the same time. With the demands on people's time, the professionalism that exists these days, it's highly unlikely that people will be able to do that, which is a pity because there's some unbelievably talented individuals out there who can play any kind of sport they turn their hand to. So it is a great shame, but it's just the nature of the way sport is these days. But yeah, Dan and I think are the last two able to play both sports.
Mangi, we're talking about the professional era. I know that a lot of your time is spent training and playing, but on the side, I know that you do quite a bit of coaching. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. I coached a bit at Kersney College, obviously, with the whole lockdown. Obviously, I'm not able to do so. And yeah, I've enjoyed that. And I've actually learned a lot about myself while I was coaching, yeah, so it's been a great learning journey for me. So I've enjoyed every moment of it.
Errol, here we go. We've got a question. One of your funniest or fondest memories of playing at Kingsmead?
It came in the final of I'm calling it on myself at this stage, Nick, but what happened in this instance was we were in the final. We'd had a really good round robin series in the what was called the Super Sport series at that stage, the 4-day competition, and we'd finished top of the log. And the rules were such that all we had to do was make sure we didn't lose in the final. And we played against the Titans at Kingsmead. And as it turns out, we ended up scoring, I think it was in the region of 759, which to this day remains an all-time record. First ever any score that's been scored at Kingsmead by any team. And my contribution, Dale Benkenstein got a magnificent 260, 270, I think it was. And my contribution on the day was a solitary single. And I remember sitting up in the change room for 2 days while we batted and just made sure we didn't lose the game. Just with that old mutual statistics book in front of me, just making sure that we're ticking off a lot of the statistics that we were passing as we went along. Longest innings, longest number of overs that were bowled, and highest score, etc. So we managed to hardly hold out for a draw. We drew the game and ended up being champions that season. So yeah, that was a great memory because it was a fantastic team performance. As I said, my contribution to that innings was a solitary single.
Mungs, do you have any memories so far in your career that sort of stand out, or any moments? I know that your T20 debut for the Proteas must have been a massive moment for you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what stood out the most is obviously playing against the Dolphins when I was still at the Titans, in the final, which was such a massive turning point in my career. And I think also, we spoke about memories in Durban. Like one of my first least day hundreds was in Durban, at Kingsmead, and I love that. Like as I said, that I've always had a soft spot for Durban, and hence maybe I ended up here. But I think for me, probably what stands out the most, obviously playing for South Africa and playing that final against the Dolphins at SuperSport Park.
I do. I remember that final. You took everyone to hear a part, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And I think me and him become a long way because I've now played with him a lot when we were both at Eastern's club cricket. We played together, and I sort of had an idea what he was trying to do, I think it was one of those games where it was very special to me, and everything just clicked in the night, and
So Mungs, I'm just going to sort of rein it in a little bit here. So the last couple of seasons have been quite challenging. I know they're coming back into franchise cricket. You spent a season with KZN Inland. Now that you back in franchise cricket, playing 4-day cricket again, is the hunger really back there?
Um, uh, the hunger's always been there, and obviously there was times where I was like, I mean, do I really like have to, But I still have like aspirations to play Test cricket, and I still have aspirations to win 4-day comps with the Dolphins, and hopefully we can do that this coming season. And The hunger has not gone anywhere. It's always been there, but obviously it's been like a challenging couple of months or 2 years, let's say, in that regard. But I realized that like I still love the game for the mere fact that I was like playing semi-pro cricket, but I loved every single moment with my teammates and grafting for 3 days or whatever the case may be, and playing in Maritzburg and playing in Limpopo or whatever the case may be. And I've enjoyed every single moment. So, and I realized that actually my hunger's still there, because I still believe that I've got so much to add, so much to give into the younger guys that are coming after me, so much to give to the Dolphins because they've given me an opportunity to relive my dream again. I draw my inspiration from that.
Errol, the franchise cricket and franchise sport is incredibly intense, and the guys are training all the time. Is that something that you, not necessarily disappointed you missed out on, but is it something that you feel like it could have enhanced your career?
Nick, we didn't miss out on that actually. I think a really good chunk of my career was played in the professional era. I kind of started in 89, 90, and there it was a case of turning up, and when the sun hit the horizon on the Berea, you broke out the bottles of beer basically. But that was a turning point in Natal cricket. I think we started adopting a real fitness and professional type approach, and of course professional cricket came around the same time. So we're very much part of the whole professional era, and so it's great to see how it's progressing. And what I'm really happy about is how the guys are able to make a career out of it these days. And I think with RPL coming along and the kind of riches and so on that it brings, it's wonderful to see good cricketers, being able to make a living out of the game and express themselves. And they are fantastic entertainers. And I'm very chuffed to see the kind of benefits that players are able to get these days. It's wonderful to see, and long may it last.
Mangi, we had a question from Crystal Rangia. What made you pick up wicket keeping? I know we've asked Errol the question, but what was the inspiration for you?
Wasn't really an inspiration, but I remember I bowled 8 wides in a game. I wanted to be Jack Ellis because Jack Ellis was always my hero. And and then I kept in a 6-a-side game, and my coach was like, "Listen, why don't you take up keeping?" So it wasn't really a decision that I made. Is that I bowled 8 wides, and that was like the end of my bowling career. But I mean, I took it up and I loved it. I mean, I had like good people like the late Rusty Tola was one of the coaches that taught me how to keep. He was fantastic, and Uncle Soli. So those are the people that I had when I was growing up in my keeping journey. And I'm glad that I actually took up keeping because I don't think I was gonna make it as a bowler.
When did you take it up? How old were you?
So I was probably about 12 years old, I think. So we bowled like throughout when I was young, when I started playing, and we never really had a keeper, so we always used to take turns. So you'll bowl and then you put on the gloves, and I kept in a 6-a-side game. And my coach was like, I mean, why don't you take up keeping because you can do the job? So I was like, oh well, why not? Because I'm not bowling in the game in any way, and I hate fielding. I want to be involved in the game. I'm sure Errol will also like wait for that. So like our attention span is very short as keepers, so we like getting involved. So fielding wasn't the thing that I was going to take up, and I just fell in love with keeping from there.
And then now that you've been with the Dolphins sort of fully for a season, and now you got your contract for next season, any player or any moment that stood out in the last season that you can mention on air?
I think for us was just a turnaround in 4-day cricket. Bob only came in like the past or the last 4 or 5 games or whatever the case may be, but like the turnaround and the hunger and how we played those last couple of games and like the belief that we had as a team. And I know that like it's something as Dolphins that we want to do, like win a 4-day campaign. So I mean, there's no particular moment, but I think as a team, how we turned it around, it was fantastic, and I loved being part of that. There's nothing better than winning a 4-day game, and I'm sure Errol will also say that. Yeah, I enjoyed the last couple of games that I played with the team, and yeah, hopefully we can pick up from that success and win a 4-day campaign.
Yeah, Errol, you guys were a good side when you were around. Did winning come easily for you guys, or was there a hell of a lot of hard work behind the scenes?
There's always a lot of hard work. Success doesn't come easily. It's no question about it. We had a lot of talented players. I mean, I remember in the final in 95, 96, we played in the one-day competition, the Standard Bank Cup. The final was the best of three. We ended up playing against Western Province, and the first match was down in Cape Town, and we lost that game at Newlands, and we ended up winning because we'd finished top of the log. We came back to Durban and we won the next two, so to win the final 2-1. Of the 22 players who turned up on the ground, 20 of the players had played for South Africa, and the other 2 who hadn't played for South Africa had represented South Africa A. So some incredibly tough and strong sides around at that particular time. I mean, running through the Natal side was just cricketers of the highest caliber, guys like Sean Pollock, Lance Klusener, of course. You had Andrew Hudson, Dale Benkenstein, Neil Johnson, Mark Brains, stalwarts of Natal, Doug Watson, and of course you've got Derek Crooks and Pat Simcox, who also played for many years, and of course the incomparable Malcolm Marshall. There are 2 players in the world as a keeper that I didn't have to do too much work. That was Malcolm Marshall and Sean Pollock. They were the 2 bowlers who I kept to, who honestly were planning ahead and really controlled where the ball went. In fact, so much so that if I had to go down the leg side to pick up a ball there from Marshall or Pollock, I kind of put my hands on my hips and said, what's going on here? They were that accurate. They were honestly the most skillful bowlers that I ever kept to. Just incredible performers, but unbelievably professional as well in terms of the way they did it. So, yeah, it's success, I suppose, did come easy to us. We won some competitions, but I can promise you that it came with a heck of a lot of hard work. It didn't just happen. I think that's true of most teams. Is what you see on the television or live looks pretty good, looks easy, but there's a heck of a lot going on in the background as well.
Yeah. You mentioned Malcolm Marshall and Sean Pollock as 2 of the bowlers that you loved keeping to. Mangi, who your top 2 bowlers that you've kept to?
Well, tough or easy?
Who were the pleasures that you kept to? The best bowlers?
I've played with so many. Delstein was one of them. I enjoyed keeping to Delstein. And we had Saeed Ajmal. He came in as an overseas pro, and that was like a great challenge. I enjoyed keeping to him. And in terms of like fast bowlers, Mone Moka was a pleasure to keep to. It was quite tough, but I enjoyed keeping to him. There's a couple, like nobody actually like stands out. There's like a couple of guys, but Delstein has to be the one. Esim Balati was fantastic to keep to. He gave me like a lot of nicks, so I got like a lot of catches from him. So if I have to say top 2, it would probably be Saeed Ajmal and Delstein.
Okay. I'm going to give this to Errol. I'm going to give this one to you first, and then Mangi, we're going to come to you. So, which venue other than Kingsmead is your favourite to play at? Thanks, Duncan Sharp, for your question.
I'm going to say Wanderers. The Wanderers, the Bullring with a full crowd, a full stadium is just the most incredible place to play cricket. It's the atmosphere. I'm actually getting goosebumps just sitting here. I must say, it brings it all back to me. It's difficult to describe walking out there with a kind of a rabid partisan. Well, not really partisan, I suppose, because a lot of people from KZN were living in Johannesburg, so the kind of support was evenly spread. But the Wanderers as a venue and from an atmosphere perspective, I don't think there's anywhere in the world that compares to what it's like walking out there. Just quite incredible. As I said, I'm just sitting here with goosebumps as I'm telling you this. Incredible place.
Mangi?
I mean, it's obviously always like nice to play in the Highveld because there's like a lot of bounce, but I've always enjoyed playing in like Maritzburg or East London, keeping on like day 3 because it keeps you in the game. Yeah, I think for me, probably like Maritzburg is quite tough. It's a nice challenge. It's not a pleasant venue, but I mean, I loved playing there. I enjoyed also like keeping in England because also it was like a different challenge. But in terms of like where it's always challenging, like Maritzburg has to be the place.
That's also another thing is that I guess the challenge of keeping Mangi is a whole different ball game, different conditions when you get down to the coast as compared to up on the Highveld. So you mentioned the challenge and how much you enjoy it, but over a 4-day game that must get even more challenging.
Definitely, and I think in order, I mean, I'm sure Errol will vouch with me. Yeah, in order to be a keeper, you have to love what you're doing because keeping is like such a terrible job. I don't know why we choose keeping, but in order for you to do it, you have to love the job. And loving the job also comes with like if you make a mistake, a lot of people won't understand. If you drop a catch, like, yeah, you've got gloves on, you shouldn't be dropping a catch. You should be better than that. But I mean, it goes more to that than just catching. So yeah, you have to love keeping because if you don't, and then you're not gonna do a good job. To be quite honest, yeah, it's a thankless job, and you have to be okay with that. There's some days where you keep well, and you work out, and the guys are like, "Yeah, well, I mean, you had like an average day." And there's days where you keep badly, and the guys are like, "Yeah, you did a good job." And I'm like, "Oh wow, come on, guys."
Well, let's go
So
into Daniel's question here. If you could choose any ground in the world to play your last game, where would it be and why?
it's a tough one. I'd definitely play at Willamore Park. I know it sounds weird, but that's where I was born and bred. That's where I grew up. So I'd love to play my last game there. So yeah, it's quite a strange one, but I mean that's where I'd love to play because I've got such yeah, good history. So that's where I learned how to love cricket, and that's where I grew up playing. So I know it sounds weird. I mean, it could have been like Lords or the SCG or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be. Yeah, it's a sneaky question, but yeah, I'd love to play there because I love.
Okay.
I love it.
Errol, let's talk about last games. Your
Yeah.
last game, where was it? Who was it against? What do you remember? What don't you remember?
Yeah, my last 4-day game. So my last first class match was actually in Kimberley against Griquas, and I'd had a bit of a lean season. So I guess the message was starting to come through to me that maybe it's time to move on. So anyway, I ended up 50 odd not out, I think it was. So that was my final first class game for Natal, and then my last limited overs match was at the Maritzburg Oval. I can't remember who we were playing against, but I don't think I troubled the score as much. I think I gloved something down the leg side. And that was my last match. I finished in 2003, 2004, thereabouts. So yeah, I was quite happy to go out on that note. You always know when you retire that the time is right to move on. And as I said, I'd enjoyed some fantastic times with the Dolphins, and it was time to press on to the next chapter of my life.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that you knew it was time, but was there a sort of moment that came to you and you realized that was what made you realize that it was time to retire?
Yeah, I always worked. I never, apart from a 6-month period, I suppose, where I took a brief break from work, I was always employed and practicing law firstly, and then working in the banking industry. And the pressures of work started to get to me, and then the times away that the game was obviously becoming more and more professional, and practices happening in the afternoon at 2-3 o'clock were no longer the case. The coach at the time, Aldine Baptiste, wanted us to practice in the morning. So all of a sudden, this started changing the game plan, and I knew it was time to press on, and I'd had a good innings, as I said. I don't think my chance of playing for South Africa was there anymore. And once the ambition of playing for your country disappears, and you think you've done your time, it's good to step away. But more, it was the pressures of work. I had a young family at the time as well, and your priorities start changing. And I felt, given the pressures, as I said, of work, and my desire to enter another chapter of my life, and of course to make sure that I spent more time with my family, was very important for me. So ultimately a very easy decision, and fortunately I could move seamlessly across into the workplace.
So, Mungs, I know you're far from finishing your career, but I guess that it's something that you have to think about, what you're going to do after the game. I know that you said you're working on writing some stuff, and you moved into the coaching sphere. Is that where you see your career moving?
Um, yeah, I mean that's one avenue that I'd like to go into. I believe that like I can add value in terms of like giving back into the game festival. I love working with people. I like connecting with uh, people in general. So whether it's like through coaching or mentorship or psychology or whatever the case may be, maybe that might be where I need to go to. But I've definitely like really enjoyed working with the young guys and just not only just coaching, but just like working with them and like trying to mentor them to not to only become like good players, but to also become like good people, and that's something that I believe that I want to take on, yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Okay, last question for you, Mungs. With the guys that we've brought into the Dolphin squad, Rwanda Swart, Otniel Bartman, and Keegan Peterson, how excited are you to be part of a squad that has those players as well as the players that we have back home going into the new season?
Yeah, I'm excited to be part of the Dolphins, and I think it's not really, well, this is my opinion, it's not really about like, well, maybe it's because I'm like at that point in time in my career, it's not really about just playing for the Dolphins, also like leaving like a legacy of like what it is, to be a Dolphin. We represent something that's bigger than us. We represent people in Maritzburg, people in Durban. We represent the ground staff that like do like a lot of work. So for me, I'm excited about that. So it's not really about. For me, it's not really about individual players. Yes, it's good. We've got like good signings, but we need to represent KZN. We need to make a difference in Durban. Whether it's like through playing or reaching out or whatever the case may be. So for me, I'm excited about that. I'm excited like where the team is going, where the squad is going. I think it is very like exciting, and we've got like good people to actually like move the Dolphins into greatness. Winning trophies or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Errol, one last one from you, sort of putting you on the spot here, but do you feel like when you arrived and when you left KZN cricket, you left it in a better place?
I think so, yes. I think if I look where the game was pretty amateur when I started in the late 80s, and I think where it finished up in the early 2000s was very incredibly professional. And what's important, it was pretty much on the map. The Dolphins had won a number of trophies over the years, played some really attacking and wonderful cricket. And I think of the influences of guys like Malcolm Marshall and Clive Rice, the captaincy brilliance of Dale Benkenstein. I think it took the Dolphins to another level. And it's great to see that the current Hollywood Bets Dolphins are continuing on that vein. I mean, the trophy they've just won was well deserved, and I think the Dolphins are really well placed. The side they've got for the coming season has got a fantastic blend of youth and experience. They've got a number of players who played international cricket, are still part of the international setup, and some really exciting players in the mix as well. So I've always been a massive exponent of teams having a blend of youth and experience, and certainly the current Dolphin squad has exactly that. So yeah, I'm very confident that they're going to continue to deliver silverware in the years going forward. They're well coached, they're well led, and they look like a very happy squad, and they're playing damn fine cricket as well. So here's the Hollywood Bets Dolphins. Looking forward to watching them in the season to come.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. Errol, Mangi, Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your time, and I'm sure that all of our viewers did too. Thank you. Stay safe and stay warm with the cold front on its way.
Thanks, Nick. All the best. Thanks for your time.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us once again, and we'll see you again next week.
The show is about the fans, for the fans.
As a youngster and as you get older, if you have the base and the fundamental.
How's it guys? Down to Tatham here. I'm just finished up training now with
We got back probably at the age of 3 and we're passing a rugby ball. About 12 seasons of Premier Club cricket.
It's been a fantastic season so far for us as the Dolphins. A really good season so far. We've got good momentum in this one-day competition.
Really performing well, bowlers, batters and fielders.
Moving the camp is really good. Guys are really focused.